moved here at an early age from Peru, immigrated with my family here, mom, dad, brother, and sister. The 5 of us came here back in the early 70s and moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And also growing up in the 80s there with the rock and roll scene and everything happening back then, that was my backdrop. I was introduced to drugs at an early age, introduced to alcohol at an early age, introduced to pornography at an early age. So my mindset and my values were very much skewed from a very early age. That lifestyle carried past from my teens into my early 20s. And that's where I met my wife, my first wife. When I was mid-20s, I was 25 years old. I would love to say that it stopped when I got married, but it didn't. I continued in my partying. I continued in staying out late. I continued hanging out with friends. 8-9 years of that caused a devastating marriage. She started going one direction. We had a lot of conflict, through now I know as intimate affairs. I started sharing my life with another woman, and that led to having an affair, which then became a divorce. I had accumulated material possessions. I had chased after what the natural man considers a success. I had the Mercedes-Benz sports car. I had the remodeled home. I had a wonderful wife. I had a child. But inside I was just a complete rotten mess. There was just collateral damage from everything that I had done. I had taken and taken and taken and taken and not given anything back to anybody. So naturally I found myself without anything. I was the picture of the prodigal man, the son that walked away, and he found himself in a pig slop, and it says he came to himself. And that's where I was when I cried out to Christ. I was raised as a Catholic, so I knew of God, but I didn't know God. And that was the turning point in my life, when the God that I didn't know knew me. He saved me. After that prayer, I visited a church where I heard the gospel. And the gospel gave me a freedom where before I was in bondage to the sin around me and to the lifestyle around me, the gospel made me free. And Jesus Christ, through the message of love that he preached into my soul, into my life, has now allowed me to live that life of freedom. My life has taken on a whole new meaning, a whole new purpose, a whole new direction. He hasn't taken away my zeal. He just redirected it to serve him for the benefit of others. With my wife, my partner, my best friend, we've been able to raise a wonderful family. That our prayer is also become ambassadors for Christ. The Bible teaches that we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were pleading through us for reconciliation, to be reconciled to the world. And that really is our prayer, is that through us, our marriage is a ministry, and that through our ministry, that others can be reconciled to God. The biggest burden that I had when I was in my sin and my addictive behavior is that I can't forgive myself. And I realize that the Lord has already paid that penalty for me. I don't have to live in that condemnation anymore. I don't have to feel that guilt anymore of what I've done, not only to myself, but to others, more importantly. And that pain and that hurt, the Lord took on the cross for us so that we don't have to be in that condemnation anymore. So I'm no longer bound to those things, and you don't have to be bound to that. If you just submit and give it all to the Lord and don't hold it back, release it, give it to him. His word says that he is secure, that he will forgive. That is his promise.